What's going on, people in YouTube land? Kimchi Chris here, and welcome to today's brand new video, episode 3 in the Kimchi Classics series. That's right, the new series for the channel where I am reviewing a bunch of classic records, a whole bunch of classic records. I'm just gonna keep this series going as long as I can. And for these early episodes, I'm really concentrating on music that was introduced to me early in my life. So a lot of these records shaped what I like musically as well as what I produce musically. So as a result, a lot of these early episodes, I'm just gonna be fawning over how great these records are, the memories of these records, things of that nature. But that being said, doesn't mean they aren't worth visiting on the channel because maybe my opinions are a little bit different than yours, or maybe I'll just bring something special into your life that, you know, you never knew about the record. Or maybe you're brand new to the channel and you're just like, why is this guy still talking? I just want a review of the record I clicked on. So without further ado, let's get into that. And that record for today is Welcome to My Nightmare by the man, the myth, the legend, Alice Cooper. This is an amazing record. I love it so much. If that's all you want to know, you can turn the video off right now, but I really wish you wouldn't because I'm going to discuss every song on this record in great detail because I love this record. It's been with me my whole life, pretty much as far as my whole music life, you know. This was something that was introduced to me pretty quick after I got into music in general, like things like Kiss, Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, Cheap Trick. These were all the early bands that I was really into. And really this is a good place to start because it's the first solo record from Alice Cooper. The first couple records were band records. It was Alice Cooper the band, similar to John Bon Jovi in Bon Jovi or Glenn Danzig in Danzig, except it was just Alice Cooper was the band. So those records like Billion Dollar Babies, Killer, School's Out, Muscle of Love, things like that were a band. Something happened and things changed. We don't need to go into those details here, but as a result we got Welcome to My Nightmare as the first solo Alice release. Now, if you're listening to all of them kind of in order and kind of notice the change musically from Muscle of Love to this one and then continued for the next couple records, it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense that something different was going on even if you didn't know that yourself. Because the records before this one were pretty much straightforward rock records for the most part. I'm not saying there's anything bad on those. I love all those records, but that's what they kind of were. You know, the lyrics were still creepy. There was definitely a lot of interesting stuff going on, but on this one, the whole thing changed. Everything changed. It went a whole lot more in a Broadway and musical direction because that's what Alice was wanting to do. He wanted to, you know, put some music out there that really worked well with the show because he wanted to keep upping the ante on the stage show, and as a result he wanted the music to go there, and you know, that's probably part of what made this a solo record versus a band record at the end of the day. But that's not to say there's not a lot of straightforward rockers on this one. There's a lot of rock music on here because Alice was a rock musician. He couldn't change everything overnight, even though over time he would kind of go all over the place musically, and you know, this is where it really all started as far as the experimentation goes. So let's just start diving into these tracks one by one. And first up we have the title track itself, Welcome to My Nightmare, and oh boy, what a way to introduce the new version of Alice to the world. This is such a departure from what they had been doing beforehand as a band, and now Alice being a solo artist, he was really at the wheel and really wanted to change things up. And you know, this one is just kind of a slow, brooding song with a build-up. It has horns in it, you know, it has very much a Broadway style production to it. It doesn't sound like a rock song like on some of the previous records, and I can only imagine putting this on the turntable back in 1975 if you were a fan of the Alice Cooper band. This had to be a little bit jarring. I can only imagine that some people weren't too into it. Now, mind you, Alice continued to grow from here, so obviously it didn't really affect his career in a bad way, but I'm assuming some hardcore fans checked out with this song. But oh boy, did they miss out on some great stuff that was coming up on the record if they did that, if they only liked the rockers. And mind you, maybe they listened to some more, eventually let it in. But with that being said, this is a great song. Lyrically, it's just kind of telling you what you're in for on this record. It's telling you that it's Alice's nightmare, you're welcome, some things are gonna happen. The part in the song where he says, welcome to my breakdown, then there's the explosion, and then the kind of crescendo of all-out music afterwards. What a brilliant moment. What a brilliant moment on this record. It's so good. What a great introduction to Alice. I think even as a kid, I wasn't really sure what I was listening to because again, I'd kind of heard, you know, Kiss and Aerosmith before this, so it was a departure for me, but I was along for the ride and I was enjoying it, and you know, it's just such a great introduction to such a great record. And then for track number 2, we have something that starts out very familiar sounding to the Alice Cooper band sound. It's just a straightforward rock song with a lot of sexual innuendo, a lot of creepy lyrics. It's called Devil's Food. Devil's Food is an Alice sounding song, and it just sounds so stereotypical, but it still has a good groove and it's still a good song. But then just a little bit into it, it kind of goes off the rails completely because our guest star comes in for the record, Vincent Price. Yeah, that Vincent Price, you know the one. And he gives a really creepy monologue for the rest of the song, talking about, you know, spiders and the Black Widow in particular. And it's just so perplexing of a place to put it on the record, it seems like at first. And it's so creepy, and it's really kind of out of character already, but it works so well. I mean, this was probably part of the Bob Ezrin production style really shining through. And it works so well, and it continues to build and build and build and build, and then it stops. And there's silence. And then you just hear Alice say those immortal words. And track number 3 starts, the Black Widow, and oh boy, Alice is in full rock and roll form again. This is the first track on the record that I would say if you were a fan of the original band and you were really questioning what he was doing now, there's no way you couldn't be on board for this one. It's a full-on rock and roll song. It's all about, you know, a spider and it killing its prey, and the groove is there, the lyrics are there, the, you know, performance from Alice and his band, it's all there. What a killer song, literally and figuratively. The Black Widow is such a great song. This is a good one to show to people that, you know, maybe don't think that Alice can do just a straightforward rock song without a lot of the shtick, even though there's still shtick, I suppose, with the lyrics. But, you know, if it didn't say Black Widow as the main tagline, you could just say it was about a woman or something, and it would blend in with anything else on classic rock radio. But it would still stick out because it's such a good song. It's such a good song. It's weird because it's kind of a deep cut these days. I feel everyone that's at least a little bit into Alice knows this song, but I don't know. I think some of the more casual fans that have just seen him, you know, touring through the years and recent years and things of that nature might not know the song as well, but I think it's great. I think it's to be in every Alice Cooper set. I've even seen it as an opener in the sets before, and it works so well. So it's a straight up classic. I love the Black Widow. But then, just to keep people guessing and to keep this a very engaging listen overall, track number 4 just flips the page completely. Track number 4 is called Some Folks, and it's just completely different than everything we've heard so far. This is Alice completely embracing the Broadway musical aesthetic of this record, and it's great. It's a great song. It just sounds like something you would hear in a musical, but then when you listen to the lyrics, they're definitely a little bit more creepy than that, with the whole, you know, some folks just love to see red and, you know, things of that nature. It's such a creepy song because, you know, it doesn't sound creepy, and that's what makes it truly unsettling. And there's even a dance routine that they did on the tour to this one with a bunch of people in skeleton outfits on stage, you know, dancing around with some light tricks to make them look like skeletons versus people in skeleton outfits. And, you know, it fits with Alice so much, the whole kind of Broadway scheme and everything, and I love this song. I wish they would bring this one out on tour in the current incarnation of the band. I kind of don't see them doing that unless they do like an anniversary tour for this record and play all of it or something, but nonetheless, this one is a cool song if you want some kind of variety and diversity in your Alice record. And then track number 5 comes, and again is completely different than everything we've heard so far on the record. Track number 5 is Only Women Bleed, and this is an Alice classic. We all know this song. This is one that a lot of the casuals even know. It's the power ballad of the record, a song about, you know, spousal abuse, and, you know, in typical Alice fashion, if you just kind of saw the title, you might not infer that from it, but this is a very good song as far as the message goes. And as far as the song itself goes, it's great for what it is. It's a power ballad. It works really well. It builds. There's a lot of building on this record. Again, I think some of that kind of goes back to Bob Ezrin being the producer, and he's kind of known for that. He's kind of, you know, known for building these big, you know, structures of songs. And the climax of this song is just unforgettable. When he does this song live too, it's just always something to behold, because this is usually kind of the middle point in the show where he's like beat up a woman on stage because he's evil, and he's kind of, you know, mourning the death of her, and then she'll usually come back, and, you know, Alice gets his in the end because he's a villain on stage. But with all that being said, this is a wonderful power ballad, even taken out of the context of this record. And this one, kind of like some of the other tracks on here, shows a different side to Alice that I don't think a lot of people really realized he had at that time. And again, at that time, probably turned some, you know, long-term fans away. But I don't know. It's a good song. It's a big song, and it's a very well-written song. What a great song. Let's see how many more times I can say song in the next couple seconds. Song, song, song. And if you're listening to this thing on vinyl, it's time to flip the record over to side 2. And for side 2, you decide to kick things off in old school Alice rock and roll fashion with Department of Youth, something that really touches on a subject matter that Alice was known for at the time, with schools out and elected and things of that nature, kind of, you know, rallying the youth, rallying the kids, and making a battle cry for them. And this one does it really well. Department of Youth is a great, just straightforward rock song. This is another one that they opened with a couple years back when I saw Alice live, live, and it was killer. It works so well. This is another one that I think somewhat falls into deep cut territory, and I don't get why, because this is just such a cool song. The weird little music video they made for it back in the day is really funny too. It's a cool song, cool video, and just works really well as a straightforward rock song. And the next track is pretty much a straightforward rock song as well, but it's a lot sleazier, and the lyrical content is 100% different. That's right, we're talking about Cold Ethel. This is a song about necrophilia, and it features one of the best lyrics ever. She's cool in bed. Well, she ought to be, because Ethel's dead. What a lyric, you know. He didn't even want to use innuendo. He just wanted to let you know that, you know, I dug up this girl. I'm having my way with her now. I'm Alice Cooper. I do that kind of thing. And this is about the darkest, blackest comedy you can have, because there's no way this song was meant to be taken that serious, but in the context of this record, it works really well, and it's just such a tasty song. It has such a tasty groove. When you hear it, just the drums with the cowbell and the guitars and the lyrics and just the production, the performance, everything about this song is killer. This is one of my favorite Alice Cooper songs ever. It's hard to overanalyze it too much. It's just perfect, straight to the point, all killer, no filler, Alice Cooper at his finest. So after being led to somewhat of a comfort zone, if you will, as far as rock music goes, at least as comfortable as you can be with a song about necrophilia, we have 3 songs in a row that are musically very different from anything on this record. And even though they're different songs and they're musically different from each other, I'm going to kind of tackle them all together because they're kind of all one song that progresses together. And those 3 songs would be Years Ago, Stephen, and The Awakening. So this trilogy of songs starts with Years Ago, arguably the creepiest one out of the 3. And it's Alice just kind of singing over some weird, almost circus sounding music, and he kind of has like a little boy tone to his voice. You can tell he's trying to sound like a child, and he's even singing about being a child, but then a deeper version of his voice comes in and kind of argues with him about being a man versus being a boy, and he kind of argues back and forth about wanting to be a little boy versus a big man, and everything about it is just like, it's unsettling. It makes you feel weird. If you listen to this kind of in a dark room alone, there's no way you're not going to feel a little bit uneasy. And the song is not very long, and as soon as it goes away, we go into Stephen, which is, on the surface, almost sounds like a pretty ballad when it starts, but then the lyrics are talking about not wanting to see someone die, feel someone die. They don't want to be around someone as they're dying. And then the chorus with the screams of Stephen just over and over are just, again, it's so creepy. This is the part on the record where Alice really wanted to get into the creepy territory, and if this was a musical, this makes sense being towards the end. It's kind of a crescendo of the record, and by the end of this song, when Alice is just screaming at the voice, which, you know, is his voice, but, you know, let's just say they're 2 different roles, screaming Stephen, him screaming right back at him, what do you want, what do you want? And it's just like, it completely implodes at the end, and it works so well. This one is full on Broadway, full on musical, and I love this song. Stephen is such a killer song. And then we end this trilogy of songs with The Awakening, which is arguably the most forgettable song on the record and definitely as part of this trilogy, but that's not to say it's a bad song, because this record has a really high bar. It's just kind of the calm after the storm. It's you know, it's very symbolic and doesn't exactly tell you what's going on, but it kind of works really well as kind of the calm before the end of the record after the emotional, you know, stampede that was Stephen. But even in the lyrics, despite them being somewhat abstract, it really does paint the picture that, you know, maybe Alice is waking up from this nightmare, maybe, but it doesn't completely tell you what's going on, and that's the beauty of this song. It's still a really cool song and a really important song to the record overall, I would say. But then after that, we have to end the record in a glorious way with track 11, Escape, and oh boy, what a track this is. It's a straightforward rocker. Alice wanted to leave you on a very positive, very hopeful note, and it's a song just about needing to, you know, escape, needing to get out of here, and it works really well. It's kind of like a send-off for the record. Funny enough, I think it would work really well as a opener for a show, but it works as a really good way to close out this record. It's very victorious, very glorious, and there's some humor in there as well because, you know, it's Alice and he loves his humor, but it's a really great way to end the record. Just a straightforward rocker, not a whole lot else to say about it, but it's performed really well, and it gives a really satisfying end to this really satisfying record. And there you go, we've reached the end of the record, and if you couldn't tell, somehow, I love this record. I think it's a classic. It's one of my favorite favorite albums of all time. I think it's a perfect way to start getting into Alice Cooper unless you really just want to delve more into the band side of things. But otherwise, this is a great starting place. Between Alice's performance, the musicians' performance on the record, Bob Ezrin's production, Vincent Price being on there, everything about this record, it's just, you know, it was the perfect storm at the perfect time for the perfect artist. And similar to what I've said in some of these other reviews, despite how potent and amazing this record is now, I can only imagine how floored I would have been when this thing came out, or maybe even discussed it if I had been into more the rock version of Alice before that. But I think anybody that was kind of that guy that gave this one a, you know, honest chance would have definitely loved it. I mean, it's different, it's unique, and oh boy, the things that would follow after this one, you know, Alice just continues to delve into a hole of trying to really, you know, kind of grow musically and grow artistically, and from here things get really weird a couple records down the line, but we'll discuss those when we get to those, because today's all about Welcome to My Nightmare. And you know, it might be called Welcome to My Nightmare, but I love this thing. It's a dream listening to this thing in a very positive way. If this is a nightmare, give them to me every night. I love this record, but that's enough from me for now. What do you guys think of this record? Do you love it? Is it one of your favorite records of all time as well? Is there an Alice record you maybe like a little bit more? Let me know in the comments down below. Some of you have suggested some other Alice records for me to review as well. I will get to those at a later date, so don't worry, I've not forgot about you. But if there is an Alice record or any other one you want me to review, leave that in the comments down below as well. I would appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and maybe hit the little alarm as well while you're at it. Might help you get the updates, might not, who knows. Either way, it helps the channel out, and hit that thumbs up so I know that you enjoyed this video. Again, my name is Kimchi Chris. This has been Kimchi Classics, and we will see you guys on the next video.